Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you very much for joining. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Status Quo, Chapter 8, Manifestation of Brahma from Vishnu, verse number 4 and 5. If someone can share. Thank you. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nasta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. Hari Om Tat Sat. 384. Swameva Dishyam Bahumanayantam Yadvasudeva Vidam Amananti Pratyagdrutaksha Ambujakosamishad Unmilayantam Vibudodayaya. Swameva Dishyam Bahumanayantam Yadvasudeva Vidam Amananti Pratyagdrutaksha Ambujakosamishad Unmilayantam Vibudodayaya. Swameva Dishyam Bahumanayantam Yadvasudeva Vidam Amananti Pratyagdrutaksha Ambujakosamishad Unmilayantam Vibudodayaya. Udayaya, or synonyms. Swam, himself. Eva, thus. Dishyam, situated. Bahu, greatly. Manayantam, esteemed. Yet, that which. Vasudeva, Lord Vasudeva. Abhidam, by the name. Amanante, acknowledged. Pratyag Dhruta Aksha, I settled for introspection. Ambuja Kosham, lotus like eye. Ishat, slightly. Unmilayantam, opened. Vibhuda, of the greatly learned sages. Udayaya, for the sake of advancement. Translation by Ganga Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. At that time, Lord Sankarshan was meditating upon his Supreme Lord, whom the learned esteem as Lord Vasudeva, but for the sake of the advancement of the great learned sages, he slightly opened his lotus-like eyes and began to speak. Please repeat. At that time, Lord Sankarshan was meditating upon his Supreme Lord, whom the learned esteem as Lord Vasudeva, but for the sake of the advancement of the great learned sages, he slightly opened his lotus-like eyes, and began to speak. There is no purport, so going to verse number 5. Swardhuni Budadrai Swajata Kalapair Upasprushanta Charana Upadhanam Padmam Yad Achanti Ahiraja Kanya Sapremanana Balibir Varadha. Swardhuni Budadrai Swajata Kalapair Upasprushanta Charana Upadhanam Padmam Yad Achanti Ahiraja Kanya Sapremanana Balibir Varada. Swardhuni Udadrai Swajata Kalapair Upasprushanta Charana Upadhanam Padmam Yad Archanti Ahiraj Kanya Saprema Nana Balivir Mararda. Synonym. Swadoni Uda, by the water of the Ganges. Ardrai, being moistened. Swajata, bunch of hairs. Kalapaihi, situated on the head. Upasprasantaha, by so touching. Charana Upadanam, the shelter of his feet. Padmam, the lotus shelter. At the which Archanti worships. Ahiraja, the serpent king. Kanya, daughters. Saprema, with great devotion. Nana, various. Balivi, paraphernalia. Vara Ardaha, being desirous of husbands. Translation. The sages came from the highest planets down to the lower region through the water of Ganga, and therefore the hair on their heads was wet. They touched the lotus feet of the Lord, which are worshipped with various paraphernalia by the daughters of the serpent king, when they desire good husbands. The sages came from the highest planets down to the lower region through the water of Ganga, and therefore the hair on their heads was wet. They touched the lotus feet of the Lord, which are worshipped with various paraphernalia by the daughters of the serpent king, when they desire good husbands. Purport. The Ganga water flows directly from the lotus feet of Vishnu, and its course runs from the highest planet of the universe down to the lowest. The sages come down from Satyaloka by taking advantage of the flowing water, a process of transportation made possible by the power of the mystic yoga. If a river flows thousands and thousands of miles, a perfect yogi can at once transport himself from one place to another, simply by dipping in its water. The Ganga is the only celestial river which flows throughout the universe, and great sages travel all over the universe via this sacred river. The statement that their hair was wet indicates that it was directly moistened by the water originating from the lotus feet of Vishnu, the Ganga. Whoever touches the water of the Ganga to his head surely touches the lotus feet of the Lord directly and can become free from all effects of sinful acts. If after taking a bath in the Ganga or being washed of all sins, a man guards himself against committing further sinful acts, then certainly he is delivered. But if he again takes up sinful activities, his bath in the Ganga is as good as that of the elephant, who nicely takes his bath in a river, but later spoils the whole thing by covering himself with the dust on the land. Try to understand. Om Ajnanatimrandasya Gnananjansalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langete Girim Yatkrupatamaham Vande Sri Gurum Devatarinam Paramanandamadavam Sri Chaitanyeswaram Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhaya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Sri Rupa Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai Sri Prabhupada Ki Jai Gaur Bhakta Ki Jai. Thank you very much for joining. Thank you for the opportunity. So here we will just quickly run through for the context from chapter 7 and chapter 8, what is being asked. Vidur Maharaj is asking the questions in chapter 7. What were those questions? And chapter 8, Maitreya Muni, the great sage, has heard from two different times, as we see in this now, as we are discussing, as is repeating that lineage also, how the descending knowledge from his Parasara Muni has heard also in that lineage from all the way from Lord Sankarshan to four Kumaras to Sankhya to all that lineage. And then second time we directly heard from the Supreme Lord, which we heard in the beginning of this canto. Buddhava and Maitreya came at that time when Lord is about to leave. So two times Lord Maitreya Muni directly heard and is repeating, is giving that knowledge. So Vidura's questions, chapter 7 is divided into 1 to 7, where Vidura is questioning So Parikshit Maharaj, in a very humble and pleasing way, where he's asking the connection to the mainly three modes of material nature, that is the connection to the chapter 8. When he's specifically asking about three modes of material nature, and he's also mentioning Lord is he doesn't have any desire, it does. How does he? If he is connected to three modes of material nature, then how he cannot be affected? So how is that so? Can you explain? So that is coming to three Purusha avatars. They are creating indirectly, but they are not directly in touch. So that is what is coming up in the 8th chapter. Maitreya Muni is starting with. Then he is also asking whether Lord has no desire, self-satisfaction. So how he is detached? So that then he is further asking, by his potency of three modes, creating, maintaining, destroying, then how the jiva becomes nescience, how the jiva is generally pure in consciousness, pure, soul is pure, then how is it becoming into ignorance? Why the jiva is resulting into misfortune and misery, especially because the Lord super soul is there as a Paramatma. As we see also, this reflection is there in chapter 4, in the verse number 4. This Nyam is situated, Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu situated all the way at the bottom of the ocean. But that also means the expansion of, this is all the expansion of Lord Balram, Lord Sankarshan, which has been mentioned here. But that is also coming up as Paramatma situated in the heart. So what happens there, that is also being reflected as he is asking these questions. Even though Paramatma is there, why the living entity, Jiva, is going through misfortune and misery? And that is asking in 6 and 7 is also summing it up. So my mind is in distress, please clear it. So this is where, and then Maitreya Muni has answered in a quick and brief way as Sambandha, Abhidaya and Prayojana. So Jiva is always, when he forgets his identity and relationship with the Supreme Lord, that's when he is getting into this misery and misfortune. And then he must practice Abhidaya, and then he will receive the result in 8 to 14, verse number 8 to 14. So 1 to 7 is the Sukadeva Goswami asking to explaining to King Parikshit. Then 2 to 7 is Vidra's questions as described, and 8 to 14 is Maitreya's reply, which especially the 14th verse is very important, where Maitreya Muni is addressing by chanting and hearing, where it is mentioned one must serve the lotus feet of spiritual master, which is mentioned further, from 15 to 20 also it is mentioned, but in 14 specifically is calling out the chanting and hearing. One must chant and hear, yes, Hare Krishna Mahamantra has the power, but when it is delivered by the spiritual master, when at the time of initiation, through that power of the spiritual master, the living entity, the disciple, the practitioner can be delivered. And by constant serving and constant association, that we see whether the Chaturmasa period we are in, the beginning of Bhagavatam begins with that fourth. The Narada Muni was hearing in Chaturmasa period, serving and hearing with close attention, rapt attention, and serving them very closely to those Bhakti Vedantis. Then he became Narada Muni. Otherwise he was the son of a Sudrani. He didn't have anybody. He doesn't have any actual facilities to come to that highest perfection. But because of those Bhakti Vedantis, by their mercy, he is able to get. Same thing we see Maitreya Muni actually also Brahmavadi Jnani, but later on by the mercy of the spiritual masters, Vyasadev, especially, and Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, he has given the mercy. So by that he became pure devotee as well. So that's why it is very important to take the association, Vapu, if it is possible, if not possible, by Vani, by regularly hearing. Otherwise there is no way for us to know what exactly spiritual master wants. And Prabhupada emphasizes that. No speculation. Service means you must take orders from the master. Otherwise, it is simply mental concoction. No mental speculation is not going to help you in devotion service. Prabhupada is clearly emphasizing in multiple places. So now, Maitreya's reply from 15 to 20, in Vidra's further is questioning from 15 to all the way to 42, but there it is divided like serving the lotus feet of Guru and constant association, he is also mentioning. Bhakti Unmukha Sukruti especially is mentioning about pious credits. Unless living entity has this Bhakti Unmukha Sukruti, he cannot take up devotion service. And then he is asking about Purushavasaras from 21 to 23. That's why in 8th chapter we see that. And 23 to 25 is asking about the different powers of specific divisions. And that means in terms of demigods and the divination of the powers. And then establishing Manus and descendants. This is 23 to 25. And then 26 and 27 is asking about the planet situations, the top, middle, lower, what is there, and their measurement sizes. And then he's asking about the categories of living beings, humans, subhumans, birds, all those. 26, 27. And then 28 is asking about the incarnations, Guna and Leela, the both. And then he's asking 29, divisions and orders of the human society, and their symptoms and behavior and characteristics. And this is almost like Arjuna is asking that question in 2.54. Self-realized soul, what is the symptoms, how does he act, what is his behavior, what is character, is very important point he is bringing up. Not just asking about the divisions of society, but generally what is their character, what they are supposed to do. And the birth of great sages and divisions of Vedas. Then 30 is asking different scriptures, different sacrifices. Basically he is asking karma, gnana, mystic yoga and bhakti. All four is asking. And then he's also asking about the atheists who doesn't follow. So explain about them. And then he's also asking about the Chaturveda Purushartha in 32. And then further he's asking about the Pitri planets, Shraddha ceremony and Pitri planets and stars, their situations and the time factor, how it does work. And then he's asking about the fruitive activities, the penance and charities, and then those who are at the 50-year Vanaprastha ashram, explaining about that. And then those who doesn't follow the awkward position of the man. Then further is going to how the Lord can be satisfied. That is very important. Finally, he is not directly jumping into tell me about how I can see the Lord or serve the Lord, but he is going through very systematically, just like Krishna. Arjuna is asking questions very systematically in Bhagavad Gita. He is not directly jumping to the bhakti. Krishna is also presenting in that way. So this is a very important point for us to not to jump directly. Let me jump everybody, all the devotees, and go in the front to take darshan, or jump in the line and go in the front of the prasadam, whatever. So these things must be very systematically understood and followed in our behavior, in our day-to-day life. Then describe all that is knowledge, is asking. And they also, about dissolutions, is asking in 37, of the Supreme Lord. And then further is also asking about the living entity, Jiva, and Supreme Lord. What is the difference between them? And the knowledge of the Vedas, qualifications of Guru and disciple. And then finally is concluding, whatever I spoke, whatever I didn't ask, please explain all those. You are very merciful, spiritual master is very merciful. 39 to 41 is concluding and asking him to dispel his ignorance and doubts. And then Sukadeva Goswami addressing the king again. Then the chapter 8 is starting glorifying the 1 and 2, glorifying the descendant of the family, Puru, is talking about Maitreya Muni addressing. And then the Lord Sankarshan is addressing, Lord Sankarshan is speaking to 4 Kumaras. Verse number 2 and 3 is talking about the inquiries, glorifying the Vidura Maharaj. And then 4 to 6 is talking about the glories of Lord Sankarshan. 7 to 9 is talking about how to receive knowledge, descending knowledge. And 10 to 11 is talking about Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu and dissolution. And then 12 to 13 is talking about Kala Shakti, subtle subject creation, matter of creation. Then 14 to 15 is talking about the lotus, how the Lord Brahma is born, Lord Brahma's birth on the lotus flower, lotus stem, is asking 14 to 15. 16 to 20 is talking about Lord Brahma's searching for who he is and what he is supposed to do, what is his origin, in those 4 verses. And 21 to 31 is talking about the glories of Lord Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu, and then and also Lord Brahma's vision, how finally he is able to see by the mercy of the Lord. And 32 to 33, and the Lord's glancing on this Mahatattva Pradhan, so and then is able to activate the energy and get the creation started. And then in the same way, and then offering prayers, Lord Brahma. In this way, he was surcharged with creation potence. So in this way, this chapter, 8th chapter, is divided. Now, so going back to the verse number 4, where it is explained, but first before that, let's prayer to Lord Sankarshan, where it is explained in this canto 5, chapter 25, glories of Lord Ananda. So all the Rudras during the annihilation also, from the in between the two eyebrows, when Lord Anantadev becomes angry, so by the desire of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, annihilation happens. That time, from between his two eyebrows, because of that anger, Rudras come. So, and then from there, annihilation happens. So, Lord Shiva is getting that energy also from Anantadev. So, their beautiful prayer is there. So, to destroy our ignorance. 525.8. Yaesha evam manusruto jayamano mumukshunam anadikala karma vasana gratitam avidyaya mayam hridaya grantim sattva mayam antar hridayam gata asu nirbinnati tasya anubhavan bhagavan swayam bhuvo naradassaha tumburuna sabhayam brahmana samslokayam asa, where it is mentioned, if persons who are very serious about being liberated from material life hear the glories of Anantadeva from the mouth of the spiritual master in the chain of disciplic succession, and if they always meditate upon Sankarshan, the Lord enters the cores of their hearts, vanquishes all the dirty contamination of the material modes of nature, and cut to pieces the hard knot within the heart, which has been tied tightly since time immemorial by the desire to dominate material nature through fruitive activities. Narada Muni, the son of Lord Brahma, always glorifies Anantadeva in his father's assembly. There he sings blissful verses of his own composition, accompanied by his stringed instrument known as tamburu. In this way, so by sincerely praying every day, Lord Balram, Lord Sankarshan. Sankarshan is expansion of Lord Balram. So we will be able to come out of our ignorance and destroy this contamination within the heart. Now coming back to this verse number 4, it is mentioned how the Lord here, Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu, situated all the way at the bottom of the universe as the expansion of Balram to four Vasudeva Sangha Chaturvyuha. First Chaturvyuha, Vasudeva Sankarshan Pradyumna Anuruddha, and then from Sankarsana comes Lord Narayan, from Lord Narayan, second quadruple expansion. The first quadruple expansion is in the Golok Vrindavan, in 4 quadrants, they are in charge for certain things, and then the second quadruple which is coming from Lord Narayan, that Sankarshan, Mahasankarshan, from there these 3 Purushavataras coming, Karanodaka Sai Vishnu, who is lying down causal ocean, breathing, and all the universe are coming out from his inhaling and exhaling. And then he is expanding as Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu, who is lying down in each of the universe in Garbhodaka ocean, filling the universe, half of the universe with water, all the way down, Garbhodaka ocean. And then from him, expansion, Kshirodaka Sai Vishnu as Paramatma is there. That is also meant. So here, so Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu is situated all the way at the bottom. This name is situated. So it also means Manayantam, and he is meditating. Lord Sankarshan is meditating on Lord Vasudeva. So what it means is, so as it is explained, how the Lord is situated as Paramatma in everybody's, every living entity. Sarvasya chaham hrudi sannavishto matta smrutir jnanam apohanamcha. So where is this intuition coming up from? So if the Lord does, so it is coming from the Lord. Just a Prabhupada gives example, like the small cubs or the small babies. As soon as they are born, they go reach out to the nipples of the mother because they know how to drink automatically. Intuition. Who is giving? That Paramatma is situated in the heart, and it is also that Paramatma is giving intelligence, because otherwise, just like the Prabhupada gives example of dictaphone. So if dictaphone, generally any machine comes without manual, then how you are going to operate, you don't know. Same way, so the Lord is situated in the heart. The body is given, Sarvasya Chaham Hridhi Sannadhis, Yantra Rudani, this body is a machine. But then how do we operate? How we are supposed to conduct ourselves, use this body, mind, senses, gross and subtle body. So that one who is seeking really to engage in the service of the Lord, then Lord is giving that intelligence. So just like the manual is giving how to operate, same way how to operate this body, the Lord as Paramatma is giving. So same thing, the real yogi is also meditating on the same Paramatma. Padhyam naka mani Srenya Samarchatam Vilasadbhyam Samarchatam Hrit Padma Karnika Dishnyam Akannayatmani Avastitam. So, same way here it is mentioned that what, and the reflection of this line where we see. And then we also see that the Lord Sankarshan is been mentioned here. This is also going back to these four Kumaras, when the four Kumaras, the Jaya Vijaya incident, we all know. When Jaya Vijaya, one time they are introspecting, as you here we see the Lord Sankarshan is opening, he didn't close fully his eyes, he opened slightly to advance, especially to give the knowledge, to speak to four Kumaras, to enlighten them. So same as as it is mentioned in the translation, introspection, Lord Sankarshan is, so meditating and introspection, we want to enlighten these four Kumaras. So one time Jaya Vijaya were thinking, they are discussing within themselves, Lord, if generally the Lord wants to fight, then whom he will fight? He cannot fight with those who are not devotees. Lord fights, engages directly with the direct associates, with his own associates. So in that way they were thinking that desire, that discussion was there, then automatically by the Lord's desire this incident happened, that Icha Shakti, Kriya Shakti, so that is coming up. So the Lord Sankarshan has been explained. So from that incident, Jaya Vijaya, as they were discussing and thinking about how Lord will fight with his own, whom he will fight with. And then from that, we see four Kumaras approach and at the entrance of the Vaikuntha, then we all know that incident. So then obviously Jaya Vijaya were cursed by the desire of the Lord again, because they were thinking, so they want to be as an instrument in the hands of the Lord. So that's why they came back again and back in the service after 4 lifetimes. So the now Sankarshan has been explained by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Sanatana Goswami in Madhya Leela of chapter 20. Kriya Shakti Pradhana Sankarshana Balarama Prakruta Aprakruta Srushti Karana Nirmana. Lord Sankarshana is Lord Balaram, predominator of the creative energy, creates both material and spiritual worlds. So that's what it is. And then out of three potencies, three propensities of the Supreme Lord, there are three: Icha Shakti, Jnana Shakti, and Kriya Shakti. So Lord Sankarshan here specifically taking care of the Kriya Shakti. And Prabhupada also mentioned, it doesn't mean that the spiritual world is created. No, it is always there by the potency, by the will of the desire of the Icha Shakti of the Lord Krishna. So Lord Balaram is expanding himself, is creating the material world indirectly through these three Purusha avatars, and the Lord Shiva and Durga Devi coming into picture. Sahasra Patra Kamalam Gokulapti Mahatpadam Tat Karnika Tat Dhamma Tat Anantam Sambhavam. Through Lord Anantadev, then Lord Ananta, as well, there also is mentioned that out of these expansions, Lord Balaram's expansions as Mahasankarshan, as we discussed, and Karana Sai Vishnu Garbhoda Tiros Anantasesh, especially Anantasesh. Out of these 5, Anantasesh is directly serving the Supreme Lord as a seat, as a cushion, as a bell, in so many different personal service directly is doing Lord Anantadev. So this Kriya Shakti through Lord Balaram, through Lord Sankarshan, this creation is happening, and the manifestation of the spiritual world is also happening by his potency. And further, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is explaining there about the Ahankara Adhishtata Krishnera Ichaya Goloka Vaikunta Srujate Chit Shakti Dwaraya. The original Sankarsana Balaram is the cause of both the worlds, predominating deity of ego. So Sankarsana is a representation of Vasudeva, Sankarsana, Pradyumna, Anuruddha. Vasudeva for consciousness, Sankarsana is for ego, then the Pradyumna, Anuruddha is for mind, and is the controller of the mind, and the Pradyumna is for intelligence. 4 personalities, Chaturvyuha, they are the controller of each of these things. So here is talking about false ego. The ego coming from Sankarsana is in charge, where it is mentioned about further how the ego is differentiated in 3 different ways. Yadyapi asrujya nitya chit shakti vilas tatapi sankarshana ichaya tatar prakash. So it's not that this Golok Vrindavan is created, it is always manifested, it is always there. So there it is mentioned about these 3 expansions of this false ego. By the agents of the material energy, Lord Sankarshan creates all universes, and then just like without the glance, without the power of Lord Sankarshan, just like the iron cannot burn, it burns only when it is in the placed in the fire. Same way, so unless the living entity, the Sankarshan, Lord Balaram, this Purusha are glancing on the, without that, creation cannot happen. So same way, if living entity wants to come back to the spiritual ultimate perfection, then he must be in touch with contact with the Lord Balaram, Lord Sankarshan, and his expansion as a spiritual master. So where it is talking about the material energy getting potency from Sankarshan. What is this false ego representation of the ego, real ego transformed false ego in material world? It transforms into three different ways. It is mentioned as doer, instrument, and effect. That means kartrutvam, karanatvam, karyatvam. It also means three modes. Mode of goodness, shanta, serene. False ego transformed to shanta, serene, one who is operating in mode of goodness. One who is mode of passion, gora, is active, always wants to do something, so much passionate. The last one is ignorance, vimudatvam, dull. So in this way, the false ego transforms into doer and instrument and effect, and serene and active and dull. And then we also see, it's already 701, Lord Shiva is meditating on, also when Daksha curses Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva is telling to Sati Devi, I'm always meditating on Lord Vasudeva. Sattvam Visuddham Vasudeva Sabditam. So I'm always meditating on the Lord Vasudeva, Lord Sankarshan. And beautiful prayers are there also to Prachetas. Lord Shiva is explaining about Lord Sankarshan. Prayers to Lord Sankarshan. Namo Namo Aniruddhaya. There's almost 20 verses or so. This is in 4th canto, I think 25th chapter or so. So in the verse number 5, 385, where it is explained, is talking about Swardhoni, Uda Ardrai, how these four Kumaras came through mystic power, through Ganga water, from all the way from Vaikuntha Loka. They came all the way down to Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu, all the way bottom of the universe, where Lord Ananda, Lord Sankarshan is speaking the glories of the Supreme Lord unending, and he is speaking to four Kumaras. So how they came, just like Prabhupada also explained in Kumbh Mela, these yogis, Naga Babas and different kinds of yogis, mystic perfection, where it is explained, but smaller than smallest, and then become higher, larger than largest, heavier than the heaviest, Asita, Ishta Vasita and Kamya Vasita. There are 9 types of mystic perfections. Anima, Lagima, Prakamya. So all these, so smaller than, so same way these yogis used to come down suddenly from nowhere, used to appear at the time of that taking bath in the midnight or early morning at the time Muhurta. Suddenly, so many thousands of these Babas, Naga Babas used to come. They live many hundreds of years, thousands of years. By the same way here we see that. But though they are pure devotees, these four Kumaras, by the mercy of the Supreme Lord, by devotions are automatically, all other things automatically they achieve. They don't need to separately endeavor get it. But they don't use unless it is needed also. They don't show their mystic perfection, they don't use it unless it is needed. Here the four Kumaras want to be here and they want to purify, they want to touch the lotus feet of the Lord, they want to take bath, they want to be purified by Ganga because it is touched by the throne. We will just go through that, how the Ganga is flowing, where did it start and how it is coming down. So we'll explain. But four Kumaras, because they in this way, 2 ways, means they want to hear the glories of the Lord, instruction from Lord Sankarshan, and also they want to, in that way anyway, they can directly appear there if they want to, like Narada Muni, but they want to also use this opportunity to take bath in Ganga, and then in this way they just from Vaikuntha Loka, through Ganga, they appeared by mystic performance. From there, automatically they appeared just like these Naga Babas we see in Kumbh Mela appearing right away at the time of Muhurta in that Ganga Sagar. So, same way, these four Kumaras, so the mystic perfections are nothing. And we also see the example of one of our Acharya coming from Shyamananda Pandit, I think, Narottam Das, Shyamananda, Sinha, I think disciple of Shyamananda, I think, Rasikananda Swami. great Acharya. He was so much um, into devotion service, so much pure devotion service. So he had all obviously. So he used to fly with a stick. Just with a stick, he used to fly in the air, and he used to ride on a tiger. All mystic ways. Rasikananda, Rasikananda Swami. And so these mystic perfection for pure devotee, it automatically, but where they need, they only exhibit only at that time. They will use it. Otherwise, they don't exhibit, they don't use it either way. So now about the Ganga, here it is explained, 4 Kumaras came through Ganga. So how the Ganga started. So the glories of Ganga has been given, that how when the Lord Vamandev appeared in the assembly of Bali Maharaj, and then Bali asked for 3 steps, and then we all know that story in Canto 8. And then Bali Maharaj gave 3 steps. All right, I'm ready to give. Then with his first step, he covered all this, and second step, he covered the upper plant, everything. And then when he touched second foot, all the planets, higher planets, then he touched the border of the material world and spiritual world, the covering of spiritual world, and with his left foot, by the end of the universe, as soon as he touched his toenail, one of the big toe, nail of his, not even toe directly, nail, just by the nail of his big toe of the left foot, it pierced a hole in that covering, this spiritual and material covering, that border. Then automatically the causal ocean, which we are discussing earlier, Karana ocean is called causal ocean, which is the Viraja river, Karana ocean, different names are there. That is separating between the material and spiritual. So that causal ocean, the pure water of the causal ocean entered this universe as soon as that hole, pierced the hole by Lord Vamandev's left foot toe, toenail, not even toe, nail. It pierced a hole. So from there, this water came from the causal ocean, that became as the Ganga river. And then it washed the lotus feet of the Lord, obviously, because it touched the feet of the Lord, toenail. That's how the Ganga started. So where did it come? And then because it washed the lotus feet of the Lord, covered with the Lord's always feet, the 8 parts of the Lord's body is lotus, like his navel, his feet, lotus navel, lotus feet, lotus eyes, 2 eyes and 2 eyebrows, lotus mouth, there it's 5, 6 and 7. One more is there, lotus mouth, and I think navel, I told, and then feet, so 2 feet, 8. So the total 8, 8 parts of his body is in a lotus flower, lotus shape. So his lotus feet always reddish, pinkish red. So he's reddish, covered with reddish powder. The water of the Ganga acquired that beautiful pink color, because by touching the lotus feet, washed the lotus feet of the Lord. So it attained that pinkish color, beautiful pinkish color. Obviously what we see, we don't see that. But this is the natural color when it started from the topmost planet, highest planet, that border of the material and spiritual world, when it caused that, pierced the hole. From there, it entered. From there, how did the Ganga flow? Then Ganga has the name, because it touched the lotus feet of the Lord, it has the name, attained the name Vishnupadi. And then we know, he also received Jahnavi and Bhagirathi, because these sages did so much penance to bring Ganga. That whole pastime is there. I will not go into that. And then, so the Ganga, from there it descended, from the topmost, it descended onto Dhruva planet, because Dhruva Maharaj is the topmost devotee. So Lord has given pole star, our planet, that is almost Vaikuntha. So there, Ganga entered there. And then Dhruva Maharaj is he takes it with so much, with firm determination, execute devotion service. He knows that this Ganga is sacred, because it touched washed the lotus feet of Lord. So he's meditating, and he has that mood and consciousness that Ganga is touched the lotus feet of the Lord. So it's non-different, is associate of the Lord in this way. And then from there, Ganga flows to the below that Dhruva planet, there are 7 sages, they have their planet beneath that. So there are 7 sages, Marichi and Vasishtha and Atri and others. So then Ganga flows there. So they also keep the Ganga water on the tops of their heads and the heads. Then further from there, it further goes down to Mount Meru, where it falls down on the top of the Mount Meru. Then it divides into 4 branches. There are 4 directions: east, west, north, and south. Before that, also, where it is explained that 7 planets near Dhruvaloka. From there, before it comes down to the Brahmapuri, Mount Meru, Lord Brahma's place, it is mentioned as by spaceways of demigods in billions of celestial aeroplane. This inundate, this Ganga water is come down to the moon. Yeah, it inundates moon from the Dhruva planet and the 7 planets near Dhruva, the 7 sages, and then from there, through spaceways of demigod in billions of celestial aeroplanes. So this Ganga water is running. And from there, the moon, from the 7 celestial these sages, and then it comes down to the moon planet, inundates moon, and then it comes to the Brahmapuri, Mount Meru. So where it is dividing into 4 branches. 4 branches. Those are in eastern side. It is called Sita. So in northern side it is called Chakshu. In western side it is called Alaknanda. This is the one which we have in Atli planet. We'll go to that. In southern side it is called Bhadra. So Sita, which is in the eastern side, eastern division of Ganga, divided into 4 different ways. One direction is Sita. From Brahmapuri it is going to the Kesharachala mountain, and then Gandhamadana mountain, and then it is going to Bhadrasva Varsha, and then it is entering into saltwater ocean in the west. So there are different Varshas. We are in the Bharata Varsha. So, and there are 9 islands, Jambu Dweep, all these. And then here it is mentioned where we are in Bharata Varsha. So this is, but rest of the Varshas it is explained that they live 10,000 years or so, and they that also their bodies are so strong, everything is so much full. It is not like in Bharata Varsha where we go to so much in Kali Yuga, so many distress, Adi Bautika, Adi Atmika, and Adi Daivik, especially from different catastrophes and this virus and whatnot. But they don't have any of that. Even it is mentioned that they live for so many 10,000s of years. At the last year before they leave, that time, then they enjoy all these facilities, higher facilities. So much enjoyment is there. Even they will procreate, but they will not be just like in material here. The procreation happens regularly. People have kids, but there it is mentioned only the last year of their life. There they will have the kids. It doesn't happen before. So this is that is the greatness of these other planets. That means much more. It's almost like higher planets, demigod planets. Even though within this earthly planet, we don't even know. It is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam in Canto 5. And so these are other than where we are living. There are other 8 Varshas are there. We are in the Bharata Varsha. So the Ganga is flowing. This is Bhadrasva Varsha, which we are talking about. All these Varshas are much more, have higher facilities. They live much more longer, and much more enjoyment is there. Not like in where we are in. So Bhadrasva Varsha, this from Sita, the eastern direction, Ganga is named as Sita. It is going into this Kesharachala mountain and then Gandhamadana mountain, where Maharaj Priyavrata meditated, and then Lord Brahma comes down and asks him to take up kingship and get married and engage in this, rule the whole world. So that happened on Gandhamadana mountain. So that is mentioned here. And then it enters into Bhadrasva Varsha, and then finally salt water. Ganga always goes and merges into ocean. That's even on earthly planet. It is called Ganga Sagar Mela. That Kumbh Mela happens there. The second one, Chakshu, northern direction. It goes to Malayavan mountain and then Ketumala Varsha, like Bhadrasva Varsha, as I mentioned. This from northern direction, this Ganga named as Chakshu because northern direction. and then Malayavan, and then finally it enters into Ketumala Varsha, different kinds of living entities. And then finally it enters into saltwater ocean in the western direction. Then the Bhadra. So southern direction of Ganga division is called Bhadra. Ganga's name is Bhadra. There it goes through the Kumuda mountain and Neela, Sveta, Sringavan mountain, and then finally it enters into Kuruvarsha. Kuruvarsha, like Bhadra's Varsha I mentioned, then later Ketumala Varsha, this is Kuruvarsha. This is coming down from southern direction of Ganga is called Bhadra. From there it is entering into Kuruvarsha, and then finally salt water entering in northern direction. Now the fourth one, this is what is coming down to earthly planet, especially where Bharata Varsha. Previous ones also other planets in the earth, but not Bharata Varsha. This is coming, the fourth one is called Alakananda. The western division of the Ganga from Dhruva planet, 4 divisions happened from Brahmapuri. 4 branches, the one of the branches is western direction, and that his name is Alakananda. So that Alakananda is coming down to Hemakota, that is Himalayan mountain, entering into Bharata Varsha, and then going to salt water ocean in southern direction. So this is what is mentioned about how this Ganga. So these you can see how then it is further flowing down. Also Ganga is flowing down in this universe like this. So the earthly planet, the Ganga, what we see is nothing but Alakananda. So Prayagraj, that is what is this. There 3 rivers are merged also. Alakananda is Ganga's name in earthly planet. So that is what has been explained here. So in this way, through this Ganga, through Viraja river, through the pierce of the whole pierced, and then that's how the causal ocean became Ganga. From there, these 4 Kumaras entered through that. That's why their head had the moisture. Their head were moistened with this Ganga water. So in this way, we understand how the Ganga is flowing. Ganga has touched the lotus feet of the Lord, washed the lotus feet, and so it always purifies. It also mentioned. So more we take Ganga, as Prabhupada explaining that one must take bath, but he shouldn't get purified, but he shouldn't come out and again engage in sinful act, again going back. This is a elephant taking bath. So again and again putting mud. So that's not good. So that's why by engaging in pure devotion service, naturally it's more we are in touch with fire, more we are in associate with pure devotees, serving pure devotees. And then Supreme Lord, through spiritual master and the pure devotee, by serving them, especially in Chaturmasa period, is even more important. And so when we should try to serve sadhu, we should try to hear more, engaging in chanting and hearing is the most important in Chaturmasa period. Stay at home, we see that as yesterday was Gopal Bhatta Goswami Tirubhav, where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself stayed at the 4 months Chaturmasa. Venkata Bhatta, who was he was from Ramanuja Sampradaya, Srirangam. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stayed in his house because he requested 4 months Chaturmasa, don't go anywhere. Then his brother, 3 brothers, Trimalla Bhatta, Venkata Bhatta, and Prabodhananda Saraswati. I forget his original previous name, but 3 brothers, they were all. So that's where Mahaprabhu stayed. And then the son of Venkata Bhatta is the Gopala Bhatta Goswami, Prabhupada. So there, by the Lord, he served the Lord, he touched the lotus feet of the Lord, he served, he took the dust, he took the water, washed the lotus feet of the Lord on his head. He served in that way for those 4 months. He attained so much mercy. Mahaprabhu also was very merciful. So because of the mercy of the Lord, later on he was ready to go. Venkata Bhatta also wanted to go with the Lord because they discussed so much. Mahaprabhu gave his mercy. So, but forbade them, and he told, you serve your parents. Then he stayed there, followed Mahaprabhu's direction. Then he told, okay, you go to Rupa and Sanatan and Dhawan, meet there. So finally he reaches later on after his parent passed away. He goes to Vrindavan and Rupa and Sanatan, he meets, he serves them, and then by the mercy of Sanatan Goswami and Rupa Goswami, serves them. Actually, he wrote this, Satkriya Saradipika, what we use for all the Yajna sacrifices, the whole world, especially Vaishnavas use this for bona fide Vaishnava Sampradaya, all the main instructors, especially Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, ISKCON, all the sacrifices are done using, whether it's Annaprasana or Namakarana, so all this hair cutting ceremony, all the samskaras, everything is done using that Satkriya Saradipika, which is written by Gopal Bhatta Goswami. But he didn't wanted his name to be written anywhere. Even Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he has bestowed his mercy to Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami also. But he didn't wanted his name to be mentioned at all. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami mentions very briefly. So he doesn't give much because that is his request. Even Haribhakta Vilas also he contributed, Gopal Bhatta Goswami. So, but he didn't want his name at all. So, like this, we see that how he is so much. So he wants. He doesn't want his name and fame. He wants just pure devotion. So one time he goes to Gandaki river and gets all the saligrams, but he leaves all the saligrams again and again, comes back to his hand. So then he understood this is the Lord wants me to take. And then he takes all these saligram silas and then start worshipping. And then one day, so then he was thinking how I can offer all these various articles, various things. Lord is not in a three-banded, he is not, doesn't have this form, personal form where I can worship him. So then in that way he was meditating. Then Lord, next day morning when he woke up, he saw that Shaligram Shila became Shri Radha Raman Dev, one of the 7 main temples in Vrindavan Dham, Shri Vrindavan Dham. So it is mentioned by our acharyas, Shri Radha Raman is explained as three deities are there in Shri Radha Raman. So his lotus feet is like Shri Radha Madan Mohan. His lotus feet of the Radha Raman is like Madan Mohan. And then his face is like Govindaji, Shri Radha Govinda Dev, Radha Raman's face. And feet is Madan Mohan. Madan Mohan is represented Sambandha Jnana. Madan Mohan gives Sambandha Jnana. Sanatana Goswami is the Acharya for Sambandha. Guru. Sambandha Acharya is Sanatana Goswami. And then Abhideya is practicing after knowing the relationship between Jiva and Ishvara, relationship with the Supreme Lord. That is the practice, that is Abhideya. So that is the Abhideya Acharya is Rupa Goswami, and the deity of Abhideya is deity of Sambandha is Shri Radha Madan Mohan, deity of Abhideya is Radha Govinda Dev. So the face of the Shri Radha Raman is Radha Govinda Dev. Some Prayojana, Abhideya Acharya is Rupa Goswami, who is worshipping Shri Radha Govinda Dev. And then his waist of Radha Raman is Gopinath, Shri Radha Gopinath. So his waist. In this way, 3 deities are there, and then Radha Gopinath, Shri Radha Gopinath is representing what is that? Prayojana, ultimate goal of perfection. That's why we see that Barahapitam Natavara Vapu Karnayo Karnikan Bibrad Vas Kanakapisam Vaijayanti Chamalam Mandan Venu Radha Sudaya Purayan Gopurundai Undaranyam Sodram Pravishad Gita Kirti. So especially Vamsi Vata Tataste Karshan Venu Sonayan Gopinath Siyastuna. Yeah, Gopinath, especially Vamsi Vat from Vrindavan Dham, forest groves of Vrindavan, is always dancing in Tribhanga form. This is Gopinath, Radha Gopinath, the highest form. So there it is, here it is, this is in Vrindavan, not Dwaraka, not Madura. Specifically is talking about Vrindavan. So that is Gopinath. This is the ultimate perfection, Prayojana. Who is the Prayojana Acharya? Is Raghunath Das Goswami is the Prayojana Acharya. In this way, 6 Goswami, 3 of them are representing. Other 3 are Jiva Goswami is the uncle, is the son of this Anupam. Rupa Goswami, his brother, Rupa and Sanatana brother is Anupam, who passed away when Rupa Goswami is returning to meet, coming to Jagannath Puri in the middle. Anupam passed away. He was the ardent devotee of Lord Ramachandra. So his son is Jiva Goswami, that's the uncle. So Jiva Goswami, his son is Jiva Goswami. So Jiva Goswami is, so goes to meet Rupa and Sanatana. He is the Acharya, is called, mentioned, I forget, Tattva, Bhagavat Tattva Acharya, or what is that? Tattva Siddhanta Acharya, because that's why you see that 6 Sandarbha, so many books. Jiva Goswami has written, is so much philosophical, nobody else can beat him. Nobody is such a caliber like Jiva Goswami in explaining the supreme absolute truth. Even when Rupa Goswami was there, one time somebody comes to defeat him. He said, I am the greatest. Rupa Goswami doesn't want to argue with him. He said, yes, you are the greatest. I give you certificate. I am lost. I lost. But then Jiva Goswami meets him at the river while taking bath. Then he explains and he argues with him. He defeats him. Then Rupa Goswami hears, why did you do that? I think Rupa or Sanatan, one of them. I think Rupa Goswami. He comes back and hears that this is what happened. Then Jiva Goswami chastises Jiva Goswami. But it is the duty of duty of a disciple to, when his master is being offended or done like this, then supposed to disciple should explain and from Shastra. You should explain and argue from the Shastra, quoting Shastra. So Jiva Goswami is such an expert from that time. By the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, again, he was in the, I think, lap of his mother. Then Mahaprabhu receives, I think he sucked the toenail or toe of the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I think, Jiva Goswami only. So he is, that's why he became the Tattva Acharya. I forget the Viveka Tattva Acharya or something. Then Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, he became Bhagavat Tattva Acharya. Bhagavat, he used to sing and read because Mahaprabhu tells him, go back. He used the son of Tapan Mishra, Chandrasekhar and Tapan Mishra, son of Tapan Mishra from Varanasi. Mahaprabhu tells him, go back. He also wants, he comes back and to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then he tells, no, I want to stay, I want to leave. He said, no, go back and serve your parent, then you come back when they pass away. So after he comes, and then he also, Mahaprabhu also tells, instruct that you read Srimad Bhagavatam here, especially from a pure devotee every day. So that's why he taking instruction, he used to do that. He used to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. That's why he became Bhagavata Acharya. He used to sing, he used to read, he used to be in ecstasy of reading and hearing and remembering of Srimad Bhagavatam, because all glories of the Supreme Lord is delineated in Srimad Bhagavatam. It's Amala Puran. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Matamidam Tatra Adhara Napra Srimad Bhagavatam Purana Mamalam Prema Pumardo Mahaprabhu's that is Mahaprabhu's opinion that Srimad Bhagavatam is the topmost Purana. So there is nothing beyond that. So that's Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, by the instruction. Then when their parents passed away, he came back, he met Mahaprabhu, he received gifts. Then Mahaprabhu told him to go and study under Rupa and Sanatana. So that way you see Jiva Goswami went, Gopal Bhatta Goswami. So Raghunath Bhatta Goswami became the Bhagavat Tattva Acharya. Bhagavat Tattva. Sambandha, Abhideya, Prayojana Acharya, those first three main Goswamis. Then Raghunath Bhatta Goswami became Bhagavat Tattva Acharya. Jiva Goswami was the youngest out of all six, I think. He became this Tattva, I think Viveka Tattva Acharya, I forget the full name, but it is Tattva, more explaining the philosophical truths in a comprehensive way. 6 Sandarbhas he has written, so many books he has written. Then we see Gopala Bhatta Goswami is also, I forget, he is also Acharya explaining, writing the scriptural references, and then especially for sacrifices, engaging this Satkriya, Saradipika, all these. So that's why that name is also there, I forget. So in this way we can hear so Gopal Bhatta Goswami, glories of Gopal Bhatta Goswami. So in this way, all these 6 Goswami established these 6 main temples, beautiful temples, very, very important temples in Sri Vrindavan Dham. So Jiva Goswami is a Tattva Siddhanta Acharya, who has written 6 Sandarbhas. It is also mentioned that Gopala Bhatta Goswami is a Prayojana Tattva Acharya, because Gopala Bhatta Goswami, actually it is mentioned that he was originally wrote this Sandarbhas, he started the Sandarbhas, then Jiva Goswami expanded it. He has written introduction also, but his name doesn't want to reveal, so that's why we don't see that. Otherwise, Gopal Bhatta Goswami, and also he is a famous disciple of Srinivasa Acharya, he is the disciple of Gopal Bhatta Goswami. Mahaprabhu asked him to initiate from, I think, from one of the region, I think western region also, Gopal Bhatt Goswami and Raghunath Bhatt Goswami in one region, and then Lord Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Acharya, they were all initiating, because Rupa and Sanatana Goswami were not initiating disciples at all. So then Raghunath Das also didn't. So more from Raghunath Bhatta and Gopal Bhatta and Nityananda, Lord Advaita Acharya and Gadadhar Pandit, we see the disciples coming. And by the intense devotion, so Radha Raman sometimes used to have a vision of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Radha Raman used to transform into Gauranga Mahaprabhu when he was full of tears, crying. So intense devotion, then he used to, Radha Raman deity used to appear as Gauranga Mahaprabhu to Gopal Bhatta Goswami. So all the 6 Goswamis are very extraordinary. We follow in their footsteps. Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami Tiruva Mahamotsav Day, which was Wednesday. So we should seek the mercy from him and Sri Prabhupada and Lord Balram, Lord Sankarshan and our spiritual masters to attain perfection. Thank you, Hare Krishna.